So if you're interested in K-pop, specifically BTS and HYBE, and also issues of sustainability and business and management, then this is the conference for you. Hi everyone, welcome to Tari TV, where I bring the classroom to you. I'm Hannah John, and today I'm going to share some really interesting news about a special conference that will be happening this summer. Stay tuned. So just a few days ago, I received an email from the Korea Business Review that they will be organizing a global conference this summer entitled ESG, A Road to Stakeholder Capitalism. For those of you who are familiar with my channel, you've probably seen ESG, or environmental social governance issues and sustainability, kind of peppered throughout my channel. So I've showed that in terms of, the guests that I've invited to speak with me, also in terms of the coursework that I do, and of course the research that I conduct. The whole idea, of course, behind ESG is predicated on the idea that potentially environmental social governance issues and the impacts of those issues by corporations in particular might have material impacts on firms and by extension investments by investors. So that's why we see a growing interest in ESG issues from the corporate perspective, the investor perspective, and also of course from policymakers at a local level, but also even in terms of international kind of agendas and initiatives. For those of you who are wondering why this might be important if you're interested in K-pop or BTS or HYBE, well, they have a special session in this global conference that will look specifically at BTS and ARMY and the idea of SDGs as well as ESG. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the SDGs or the Sustainable Development Goals, take my class. Or, yes, you can visit the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals website, and it'll give you a great comprehensive overview of the 17 key goals that have been addressed in Agenda 2030, or this 15-year agenda from 2015 to 2030 that looks at development issues from a very kind of broad perspective. Now, what I've stressed in some of my videos, but also in my classes as well, is I really appreciate the interdisciplinary nature of our program and the idea that you can blend in these elements of international business, marketing, accounting, strategy, as well as some of these up-and-coming issues, of course, of sustainability, environmental, social, and governance issues. And you can do that for a lot of industries. And of course, the entertainment industry, K-pop, is one that's very close to my heart. And this is a great opportunity for those who also want to look at those two issues as you're preparing for an academic paper. So the conference dates for this entire program will be August 16th through 18th, 2022, and the session on BTS and HYBE and SDGs and ESG will be on August 18th. The location of the conference will be Yeosu Convention Center in Yeosu, South Korea, so it might also give you a chance to explore areas outside of Seoul if you happen to be in South Korea. And I believe, but you might have to double check, if you are maybe dialing in from abroad, that they will be able to have or accommodate an online session for you as well. If you would like to submit an abstract for consideration for this conference, you must submit your abstract by June 30th, 2022, and you should be notified of acceptance by July 15th, 2022. Please do check the Korea Business Review website and any updates that they might have on this global conference, and I'll try to provide some updates here as well on my channel. If your abstract is accepted to the conference, then what you will have to do is to prepare a 15-minute oral presentation, whether that's offline or online or some sort of hybrid format. Another great incentive for you to apply for this conference and also to present, not only because you'll meet other scholars in the field who are interested in the same area, but they do have a couple of awards that they will be given. One is just about best paper, I believe, and another is best student paper, and I think that's very applicable for many of you who are students and who might be interested in applying for this conference. Now, do check the guidelines. In order to be eligible for this award, you have to say that you would like to be considered for the award, and you must submit an extended abstract, I believe between 5 to 8 pages, by the initial deadline to submit your abstracts. For the student award, the lead author must be a student at a registered university by the time you're submitting your application, and you should be the one who is presenting the paper at the conference. Now, whether you submit a kind of simple abstract or a more extended abstract, there are some key features that they should all include. So let me read these details for you right now. You should have a concise description of the purpose of your research, a brief introduction of your research design, methodology, or approach, a description of your expected research findings, and a short summary of the originality or contribution of your research paper. A lot of these topics I've actually covered in previous videos, so if you're interested, I'll leave a kind of link or description of the videos up here just so that you can have a refresher. Now, I will say that the topics themselves are quite broad and they give you quite a bit of flexibility in terms of what you would like to write, but they did kind of break down 3 major areas that you could potentially think about when you're trying to submit an abstract for consideration. The first area is BTS and HYBE in light of the Sustainable Development Goals. This can also look into an analysis of BTS and HYBE in terms of kind of more sustainable-minded or focused or conscious MZ kind of generation, and also in terms of global citizenship and sustainable development, kind of with the story and the backdrop of BTS and HYBE. The second major area you can look at is BTS and HYBE, as well as ESG or environmental, social, and governance issues. The actual conference kind of description doesn't say it specifically, but actually when we look at ESG as an academic discipline, of course we're looking from an investment perspective, so investors' kind of expectations and weighing the materiality or the actual impacts of corporate performance when it comes to environmental, social, governance issues. And I think there's a lot that you can explore here, potentially for this conference. This can also include things like BTS and the Army as drivers of ESG performance, and it might also be interesting, they don't mention it here specifically, but because I do quite a bit of research when it comes to ESG reporting or sustainability reporting, how you might be able to bring that data or information when it comes to an analysis of ESG performance. Another topic that's mentioned is HYBE's efforts to value things like intangible human assets when it comes to accounting. And the last area that they do mention is BTS HYBE and the stakeholder approach. Of course, the kind of main idea of the conference is approaches to stakeholder capitalism, specifically within the light of environmental, social, and governance issues. And so there are a lot of issues you can explore here as well. This can include an examination of fandoms as well as central concepts or theories within stakeholder theory. And of course, there's been quite a bit of research when it comes to newer technologies and how to harness those technologies when it comes to stakeholder approaches. And not just, I think, just for the idea of consumption, but also in terms of enhancing kind of the overall stakeholder experience as well. So last but not least, if you're thinking of applying for this conference and submitting an abstract, there are a couple tips that I do want to give you. And the first is, of course, try to be as specific as possible in your abstract when it comes to your research question. What is the uniqueness of your research question? What kind of contribution are you making to the field, both in terms of the literature, but perhaps also in terms of practice? And try to be able to do this concisely. And so please do make each word count in your abstract. In order to make sure that you're situating your research question within the broader academic literature, please make sure to read widely, not just in K-pop and entertainment, but also when it comes to specific subfields within kind of international business, whether that's international business strategy, marketing, management, operations management, accounting, or many of these other areas, as well as those tie-ins with sustainability and perhaps environmental, social, and governance issues. And last but not least, if you're a student, please reach out perhaps to a professor who might be interested in working with you, or at least guiding you as you're trying to kind of navigate these waters. It actually is quite helpful to work with faculty, especially if they're interested in this area, and for my students. Please feel free to reach out to me, and I'd love to hear some of your ideas about what you'd like to propose for this conference. So I didn't want to add to your burdens as you're coming into kind of the final month of the semester, but as you look into the summer and what you would like to do and try to make most of this experience, I would really like to encourage you to apply for this conference if you're interested, if you have time, and if you're motivated enough to do so. Yes. So until next time here on Tidy TV, bye!